Today I want to talk about if you have a waist dart, but you would rather have a pleat in your pants. I got a question from a subscriber on my channel asking, what to do in the situation if you have a waist dart and you want to make it a pleat. And I had to play with it a little bit to see what would happen, because I had responded back that, you can incorporate the dart into the pleat and that would work out. And I wanted to double check myself. So let me show you what I've been working on here. You can see here, I made a few copies of a front leg with a waist dart. Okay, and this waist dart is 3/8 of an inch across the top. And I made them, across all of them. I used my my tracing wheel to transfer the dart through. So we've got the same dart on multiple copies of this front leg. So what I want to show you here is, in this example, okay, I created a pleat incorporating the dart. And this pleat goes all the way to the bottom of the hem. And then I did a second one where I created a wedge shape pleat, meaning it goes to 0 at the hem, because pleats can continue down the leg and stop, anywhere along the vertical length of the leg that the designer would like it to do so. So this one stops at the hem but blends to 0, while this one goes all the way down and adds fullness to the hem as well. So the way I played with this is, if I had a dart, so let's say I'm going to pin my pleat shut, and I think I'll just use a little clip to hold it shut like this. And then I'm going to close my dart, because the first thing I want to make sure is that I get the same fit in terms of length. So if I create a dart, okay, and this one I'm going to just use a pin so it's not bulky. But here I've closed the dart, okay, and you can see the dart gives us a little bit of a cup shape. That's what a dart does. And the pleat lays flat, but it will open to create more room or more ease, like it will spread. But the key here is, if I measure these, and I'm going to put them like this so you can see, I end up with the same measurement at the waist, whether I close the dart or incorporated the dart into the pleat. So you can see here they match. Okay, so we've got the same situation going here. So let me show you now how I created it. So the first thing is to incorporate the dart into a pleat. I'm going to draw, guidelines down to the hem, and the guideline is going to sort of mirror what I'm going to add for the pleat. So for this one, let's have the pleat go all the way to the hem, but let's have it stop at a 0 at the hem. Okay, so we're not going to add anything to the hem in this example. So let me just use my pen here. I'm going to continue my center line of my dart all the way down like that. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect each dart leg to my center line at the hem. And what that's going to do is it's just going to show me, the shape of what I'm doing here. So this is going to be the shape of what I'm going to make for a pleat. This is the dart intake, and I'm just going to color it in blue so you can see. Okay, but what I've done is I've continued it down to the hem like this. So my dart is incorporated into what will become a pleat. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut one of my dart legs that goes to the hem like this. Okay, so now I've got this spread open, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of my scraps here. I have a bunch of scraps from cutting these out. And I'm going to put the paper underneath, and I'm going to just tape it down like this. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to draw how much I'm going to add for the pleat. Now, if I want it to be a 3/8 inch pleat, or whatever my dart is, I would add that much. But I can also add more if I wanted to add more. So let's say we wanted to make it a little bit bigger than the dart. So I'm going to go ahead and measure out, you know, whatever it is. So you have to consider the fact that I've already got 3/8, or whatever your dart intake is going to count as sort of the back side of the pleat, right? So let's make this a little bit bigger. So let's just try it. I'm going to make it this big. 3/4 of an inch. Let's add that and see what happens here. So I'm going to connect that back to 0. Okay. So there's my pleat, and now I'm going to tape it back together. All right, and I'm not going to have a 3/4 inch pleat. I'm going to have whatever half the amount is. So we already had 3/8, plus we have 3/4. So 3/4 plus 3/8, that's going to be 1 1/8 inches, right? Because we got 3/8, 1 1/8 inches. So it's going to be a generous 1/2 inch pleat is what this will be. Now, of course, when you're working with your full-size paper pattern, the waist darts are going to be bigger, right? So you can do this math and figure out what you want to add. But whatever it is, you're going to add whatever the dart intake is, plus whatever amount you spread for the pleat, and then you're going to divide that in half, and that's going to give you the pleat length. So just to explain to you what I mean here, I am now going to fold on this original line that I drew for the dart leg that I extended to the hem, and I'm going to pleat it over to my pleat. And you can see I've got a very nice pleat here, right? And let me just cut off this extra. Okay, so it works out to be about a 1/2 inch instead of 3/8. So you can increase the length of it, and there would be the pleat I created. Okay. And again, let's put this against one of my original pants patterns. Now, if I don't close the dart, you can see what happens is it shows up over here. So like if I line up my pleat on top of my unpleated one, you can see right here, this is where my dart intake would be, right? This amount right here. And if I were to measure the dart intake and compare it to my dart that I didn't close, that should be relatively equal. Let's do one more. Okay, so this time I'm going to draw my dart. So there's my dart. This time I'm going to go straight down. We'll do a pleat that adds to the hem as well. So I'm drawing my guidelines here, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut one. And let's say we want to make a big pleat. So this time I'm going to add paper like this, and I'm going to tape it down. Okay. All right, let's measure out from here. Let's make it 1 inch, like a big pleat. And I'm just doing this to illustrate that it doesn't matter what you change the width of it to. And now I'm gonna reattach the other half of my leg here, like this. All right. Okay, so now I've got this giant pleat. Okay, so the whole pleat is this big. It's going to be this big now, right? And there's my dart intake. I'm going to fold one over to the other. Okay, and it's going to give me this big, beautiful pleat. Cut that off. Let me cut this off over here at the hem. All right, so you can see we've got that big pleat in there. So whether you carry your pleat all the way to the hem or, you know, blend it back to 0 at the hem, either way, you can create pleats and incorporate your dart. So I thought this was really fun. Anytime I get a chance to nerd around with patterns, I love it. So if you're watching and you were the one that asked me the question about that, I want to just thank you, because I was able to put down something else I was working on and do this and just have a little bit of fun with it. So I hope that answers your question. And if anybody else has any questions about how to convert a waist dart into a pleat, please post those below and I will help you. If you're enjoying my content, consider liking and subscribing to my channel because it helps me grow. And I hope everybody has a lovely rest of their day.